Okay, good morning, everyone. We have with us here today, in terms of meeting the faculty, our for the Environment and Sustainability Pathway, Professor Gaines Tyler, and we're just going to have some getting to know the faculty. So I'll invite you to take it away, Professor Tyler.
As our host said, I'm Professor Tyler, and I'm teaching a biology department. I'm over at the Lincoln campus when we actually are in school. Right now, I'm walking around my backyard, which I suppose is one of the good benefits of being remote. But anyway, I wanted to give you just a little bit of my background and talk to you about what I teach, what I'd like to teach, and what all do you do with an environmental pathways major, because you might be wondering that. So I'm not your traditional professor. I suppose there's some of us at CCRI, but I quit high school, and I don't encourage you to do it, but I got my GED, and then I went back years later after being a mechanic for 10 years and decided that I'd go to college. So I was 30 when I started college. I was 40 when I finished with a doctorate because I wanted to be a teacher. I never thought in a million years that I'd be teaching high school for 11 years, but I did. And then I got tired of that, and I decided I wanted to go sort of back into my outdoors mode. And I gave up my job teaching high school. I got an arborist license, so tree doctor license, and spent a few years in that trade. It's a little bit too old for that by that time, though. So here I am. I'm back teaching, which is what I really love to do anyway. And I'm currently teaching. This is finishing up my third year here at CCRI. I'm teaching the foundational levels of biology. I teach freshman biology. I also teach, so the freshman biology I'm referring to is the biology for majors. So that's biology 1001, biology 1002. I also teach the non-majors courses, two of them. I teach biology in the modern world, which is biology for people who aren't really planning to go into sciences, or maybe. And then also anatomy and physiology that I teach, which is the non-majors one, and it's for people who are going into the dental assisting program, dental hygienics, social work, and things like that, who just need a little bit of background into what the human body's all about. My passion in teaching really is to give people a foundation, because I think if you don't have a solid foundation, you really don't have much to build on. It's sort of a thing of life, you know? But so I figure if I start people down that pathway, they can start to talk to me and ask questions, and we can talk, and I can maybe be a part of having them help make their life better. In terms of the environment and sustainability pathway, our department offerings are still a little bit thin in that area, but it's a major goal of our programs going forward for the next 3 to 5 years, is to build some things up, get some certificate programs going. Right now we have biotechnology as the only certificate, but we are also offering courses that go into that pathway, including humans in the environment, which is an introductory environmental science course. We also have a new course coming on for the fall, Introduction to Soil Science, and another one in the, we'll say in the pipeline, which is, I believe the title of it is Food from the Sea. And that covers all kinds of fisheries and aquaculture and that kind of stuff. My passions in terms of this pathway, I really want to teach people some methods in environmental science. I want to teach people how to sample populations, how to go out and identify things when you're walking through the woods, how to be able to read a landscape and be able to interpret some of its history and understand how it's been used in the past and what might be some of the best uses in the future. So that covers kind of both aspects of environment and sustainability. If you don't have a sustainable plan, you're not going to be able to go forward. So my goals right now, I want to develop a few different courses. One of them is actually goes along with my work as an arborist. I want to develop a course which is biology of turf grass, so lawns, ornamental shrubs, and trees. And this would be a course that would be fantastic for anyone who's going into landscape architecture, or just wants to be a landscaper, or wants to be part of city planning departments, believe it or not, well, you could be an arborist, so a tree doctor like me. Believe it or not, there's actually something they call urban forestry, and that's an up and coming field, which, cities have trees and cities need trees. And urban forestry is about picking the right trees for the right purpose, for the right location to make sure they're going to last. So that's just one thing. Other things that you might do if you follow the pathway that I've taken in life, I'm really more of an, you call it organismal. So I'm much more of a hands-on kind of person. I like to see and touch things. I like to be outside. And that's probably the main reason why I'm teaching rather than being a research professor, because I don't want to spend my whole summers inside teaching. Inside doing research. So other things that you might do with a degree that follows sort of my ideal pathway would be you could go work for Rhode Island DEM, you can go work for Connecticut DEP, you could work for the Environmental Protection Agency, you could go to work for the federal government and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Department of the Interior, Bureau of Land Management. So any of those sort of outdoor dealing with lands kind of ideas. You, of course, could go into trades as a landscaper, as a landscape architecture, sustainable pathways for building green spaces in cities, agricultural consulting. So how to help people be better at farming, get more crops using less chemicals and pesticides, just working with nature as it is. So for that reason, I'm also planning to put together a course in what we call IPM, integrated pest management. And that's where you don't just spray to kill everything. You work with what you've got and you make informed decisions based on those. Organic pest control is another big thing for me. Yeah, that would be part of that I course. I'm really interested in mapping, having taken some coursework in college and beyond in some technology called GIS, which is Geographical Information Systems. And this is like Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop for geographical data. It allows you to build maps, any kind and all kinds of maps. And so that's another skill, trade, that's highly useful for city planning departments and stuff like that. Other things outside of my specific field of interest, pretty much anything that deals with plants, animals, of building or maintaining their communities, creating communities. So anything in fisheries, anything in forestry, anything in animal science, including veterinary and pre-veterinary programs. And I could probably go on and take up this whole half hour, but I'm going to stop now so people could ask questions if they need to.
Okay, thank you, Professor Tyler. I wanted to just ask you some questions to get, things rolling, perhaps, for the students to find out just a little bit more about you. And it's very clear that you are very passionate about your field, like no doubt about that. What drew you? Can you tell me a little bit more or give me some more about what drew you to this field? You mentioned you went back to school, and decided, okay, so I'm going to go back and be in biology. So what drew you into that?
Well, it's funny because I was a professional mechanic for 10 years. And I sort of woke up one day and I realized, even though the money was fantastic, I was bent over the hood of a car all day, and I could see myself at 50 years old with back problems and other problems. And, and it wasn't as satisfying to me anymore. And I don't want to go on too long, but my idea of success is to find something that is satisfying and pleasing to you, something you like doing and you're good at, and you can make a living at it.
Agreed.
So I thought, I'm done with this. I'm going to go to college, 30 years old, and I'm going to get a degree in environmental science and go work for a company like Chevron or Sunoco or something like that as an environmental scientist looking at the impacts of their drilling. So that was just sort of a dream,
Okay.
My second semester of school, I started working at the tutorial center, and that's when I realized that it wasn't going to be an industry. I was going to be a teacher. That said, as soon as I started taking my biology classes, I knew that that was my field, and I loved to be outdoors, and I loved to be with nature and living things. And as my life has moved on, as I settled down a little bit, I got back into gardening because my family always had a garden growing up. And
Okay.
even though I hated pulling weeds, now it's actually something that I enjoy. And I find that just working with living things is such an amazing way to stay healthy yourself. And I don't mean that from a medical point of view. I mean it more from a mental health point of view.
Yeah.
And so that was really it. And it was difficult for me because in high school and in college, I loved all the sciences and math.
Okay.
But I think probably what did it for me is early on having a biology professor that I really connected with, and the passion that she put forth into teaching it. And I think that can be like that for a lot of people. You can't make a choice, so your professor's demeanor and enthusiasm helps you make it.
I agree. So sorry, the next thing that I want to ask you, almost like the last thing, because you did mention the careers that people can go on to, and that was really helpful. What kinds of students excel in this field? What do you think that it takes, or what, like little pro tips that you can give the students who are interested in doing environmental sustainability from the biology aspect? What is a profile of that student?
I think you're going to start with somebody who is more or less interested more in the sciences than, say, the humanities, arts and humanities. So not the people who are just absolutely passionate about reading and writing, not the people who are absolutely passionate about sociology and things, but people who are more passionate and interested in the living world, in the world around them. And because it can take so many different directions, there's some people who are scientists, even in environment, that literally work in labs most of the day. So, but it really is about the passion for living things and the world around you that really starts it off. Also, people who are, so that's sort of a fundamental thing. If you're really, really, really not an outdoors person and that just doesn't light your fire, then I'm sorry to hear that, but it might not be for you. Right. But I want to encourage people, just because biology or chemistry or something was difficult for you in the past, that shouldn't make you change any decisions if it's something you like, because passion is so much more important, passion and drive, than anything else.
I agree. That's great. My defense of not really liking the outside is that I'm from Florida, and almost everything in Florida, almost everything can kill you. Like, even if it looks really cute, it's like, oh, that's poisonous. So,
right.
I'm like, we need to preserve the outside. We need to, we need people, we need students to be interested in this, in sustaining this. And that's, why I took up the pathway. But I'm from Florida, so that's it. But this has been really helpful, Professor Tyler. I appreciate your time with doing this. I just wanted to, if there's anything else that you want to say, you can feel free at this point in time to do so. But if not, we're just going to go ahead and wrap.
I would say that if anybody has any other questions, I love meeting and talking to students, even more so now that I'm confined from home. And if you're just not sure what you're doing and how do you figure out what you're going to do, I love having those kind of conversations with people. Feel free to share my email address if you haven't already.
Okay,
I welcome any and all. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So to be clear, it's G Tyler.
G.A. Tyler.
G.A. Tyler at CCRI.edu. So this is
Yep.
And then I'm going to put in parentheses, Professor Gaines. Professor Tyler, excuse me, I'm saying your first name.
Yep.
Professor Tyler in biology. Okay. Yeah, all of the classes that you all have on deck sound really interesting. I know a lot of the people in biology, and you all amaze me all the time, but all of those classes that are coming up sound really interesting.
Yeah, it's something really to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you. I also want to thank our attendees, or the people who are watching this recording. And here's the site for more information about the Path Day sessions. You can see the recordings, find previous ones, other interviews with professors, people in the industry and the career path that you're interested in. And I also wanted to promote the Spring 2021 virtual job fair that we're having at CCRI. It's going to be hosted on Handshake on the 14th of April. You can see the times below. Oh no, what did I do? I'm so sorry. You can see
There it
the
is.
time. My computer's super sensitive today. You can see the times presented there, 1 to 4. And the web link is available, and it will be up in future CCRI correspondence for you to find it if you're interested in. So I want to thank everyone for attending today. Thank you, Professor Tyler, for being with us and sharing your amazing story.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.